All right, we're going live. You are live.
We are
Hello,
live.
everyone. Can somebody give me a thumbs up, a checking in from wherever you are in the world to let me know you are here? Let's, we're unlocking LinkedIn. We're new to live streaming, so I apologize in advance. Usually my buddy Ryan is here to make sure everything is good to go. So let me just jump onto linkedin.com and let's see. We are live. All right, I see our faces. We are live. Hello, everyone. I am Christina Mosheri, your co-host. We are, we'll have a little bit of a later entrance of Brian Fink, author of Talk Tech to Me, and The Main Thing is the Main Thing. Both things are available on Amazon. He'll jump in when he is able to, but without further ado, I'm Christina Mosheri. This is Heather. Heather, please introduce yourself.
Hey, everyone. So Heather Colvin here. I am a senior technical recruiter for a company based out of Dayton, Ohio called Smart Data Systems, where we specialize in IT services and staff augmentation. So most of my time I'm spent helping our clients find talent to fill whatever gaps it is or hiring needs that they have. And then additionally, whenever we are expanding hiring for Smart Data to provide support on the IT services side. I've been in this industry for about 5 years now, primarily in the tech space, did a little bit of healthcare recruiting, but overall love the agency world, enjoy the opportunity to work with multiple different clients at a time versus a singular. It just gives me a better understanding of how different companies move candidates through their pipeline. So yeah, nice. Great to be here.
So I have a few questions on that, and I can riff all day with you, Heather. Heather likes to tell me, what did you say? I'm the flame to your candle?
Yeah.
Which was one of the greatest compliments I think I've ever had. Usually I get like the firecracker, but like that's a nice way of saying I'm fiery.
Yeah, it's complimentary, right? Like you.
Yes, absolutely. So I don't want to be generic here, but how did you get into recruitment? So and with that, I want to ask, how did you get into recruitment and like the struggles that you face or like the challenge? So for me, I've been in recruitment almost 9 years now, and I still am like trying to build my credibility. So when I hear like you have 5 years experience, I almost feel like I can resonate with that because even though I've been in it a few more years than you, I something about being like a young, impressionable woman has backfired on me.
Yeah, well,
so like the challenges you face, you're currently working, which if you're a recruiter, like, bless you. If you're in a recruitment role right now, like you're doing something right. So really, I wanted to know how you got into it and the current challenges you face and what you do to overcome that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think for you and I, particularly, we network and surround ourselves with people who've been in this industry for 20 plus years. So it can become a little bit, it's inspiring and it's aspiring. There can be levels of intimidation just because there's so much more knowledge that they bring to the table that we're still picking up and gathering. And so I can see where, like, us, myself being 5 years, yourself being 9 years, we still don't feel like we know it all. But it's because we're surrounded by people who have really invested their careers in this industry. And there's so much to learn. Like, you're never going to be a total subject matter expert of recruiting just because every lane has its own uniqueness. But for myself, I was at a company for 11 years and I was impacted by a layoff. And from that, I decided to put myself out there and see what was available. I did have the opportunity to return back to the company in a different role.
Okay, wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
And sorry, I added a banner. Let's see. So not to cut you off, but so you went back to a company that laid you off.
No, I potentially was going to go back.
You didn't though.
No,
Okay.
no. Yeah.
Cool.
So when I got laid off, they had said, like, I had worked whenever there was a shortage in different departments, I took on those responsibilities and moved over and learned all the different things of different areas. So when I was laid off, they opened up jobs for us instead, and the HR person was like, I have no doubt, Heather, that you'll land another role within the company, and so which I did. But then here we go. We got
There
Brian.
we go. Keep going.
Okay.
We'll jump him in a second.
Yeah. So,
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian. So
On Wednesdays we wear pink.
Hey, party people, what's going on?
Always wear black.
Can you just do a double check for us and make sure I see? I think we're live.
No, we are live, but it's showing. Hey, everybody, I'm sorry that I was running late, but protecting the internet is one of those things that we got to do on the regular.
Yeah.
I'm showing a group of people on LinkedIn. I can't check YouTube because Tony Robbins will start blaring out, or Gary Vaynerchuk, the minute that I go to that.
Next is now.
Yeah. So
I just want to make sure we were going into how she got into recruitment, and challenges she faces as far as, I feel like years of experience are always thrown in my face. She had mentioned 8 or 5 years of experience. I'm almost at 9. And it's like, these are challenges we both face that.
You know what? I think it's an awesome topic to unpack. I know that wasn't something we were going to talk about, but
yeah, we went rogue. It's a rogue day.
It's all good to go rogue, right? And so to the 12 people that are with us on LinkedIn, we are excited to have you. We know that more people are coming in.
Yep.
Let's talk about experience, because day in and day out, I post roles, or I work on roles that require 10 years of experience, right? For senior data scientists. Now, we can argue that the only person that's fit on this call to be a data scientist is Heather, but I digress. Is that it's not the years that you have under your belt, it's what you've done with those years. It's about, when we think about recruiting, would you, I'll kick this question to the audience. Would you rather work with a recruiter that has worked for 5 years as a recruiter, but has only made 40 placements in 5 years, less than 1 placement a month? Do you think that they would have an impetus to get you in front of hiring managers on a routine and regular basis? If I was working with a gentleman who, let's say, was or a young lady that was a general contractor, and they had built lots of roads, but only and worked 80-hour weeks over the past 4 years, why do I want to see somebody who has 10 years of experience who's only been working 20 hours a week building this infrastructure, right?
And I got a point to add to this here too, because it reminds me of my good friend Kat Kibben, which I don't want to tease, but they are coming on. This is a big deal for us. So Kat Kibben is coming on LinkedIn Unlocked very soon. I want to say it's April, but don't quote me on that. But we have a lot of upcoming speakers that I'm really excited about. But Kat Kibben made a comment that will forever be stuck with me. I don't know what podcast they were on, who they were speaking to. All I remember is they said, an VP of HR. Do they really need 10 years of experience? Because the only people I care about years of experience are my lawyer and my doctor. And that was just like, boom, for me.
Yeah, but even then, I want to argue against it, right?
Me too, because
is it like, I think of Peter Rivner, who's Peter's my attorney. I apologize, got my Rivners confused. Harold, who's my cardiologist in Miami, Florida. Harold has just finished his residency, graduated top of his class in his master's program. He does great things with lasers, right? He's nationally recognized for what he does. But if either of you looked at this guy, like Christina, I know you would be like, this is your cardiologist. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say your cardiologist
this
just
kid's like 5 years old.
well, I've been in the situation where I was the science project, you know, and I like for me, I will never go to a teaching hospital again. If I have something going on, I'm going to, I mean, I'm in Detroit, so Henry Ford Detroit is like nationally recognized. I think they're number 6, but like they're if it's a teaching hospital, yeah, cool. You guys can go teach on someone else. Like you
Yeah.
guys can learn on someone else. I don't really want to be the science project. But back to what we were at in experience. I feel like experience has been thrown in my face one too many times. Heather, I can't imagine that it hasn't been in yours.
It's, it's one of those things where I explain to people, you have to, you have to find out in the role what the problem is and how much experience you have in creating solutions to that. So an example being, if someone was to reach out to me regarding a recruiting role where I'm hiring mechanical engineers, that's I specialize in tech, right? And so my value exchange there is going to be a lot lower than it would be in tech because I have a lot more ramp up to do. It's not an area that I've heavily, put myself in when it comes to knowledge and understanding. I do have like the foundation, the fundamentals, and so it's not going to take me long to pick up. But I'm not going to be able to come in and just instantly know where to fish with that, in that pond. And so I'm going to have to study those waters. And so, it's the same. Like, so years of experience. It comes down to what responsibilities you've taken on, what knowledge you've gained within those, how many different roadmaps you've completed within, those responsibilities. And so, if whatever their problem is, you've not completed an execution on that, then you're probably not going to be the right fit for that role. But if you've done that 10 times over in the last 3 years or 4 years on something, or that may be a little bit low, but let's say the last 6 or 7 years on
it's not low.
You're going to be you're the higher,
No, so I agree with you. I think one of the key, there are a lot of key takeaways in what you dropped out there, Heather. There are a lot of gems, right? One of the gems is, and Christina says this all the time: punch above your weight class, be fearless, go forth, do those things.
Shoot your shot.
Exactly, right? I think that for some individuals, there might be an analysis paralysis that they're sabotaging themselves, saying, "Well, I don't have this in terms of years of experience, even though I know how to use Marketo, I know how to use Canva." Like, I'll give you an example. I've got a role that I'm working on right now where the hiring manager wants them to have 5 years experience with this technology.
Has the technology been out 5 years? I just like just by the way you said it, it's like that's what we're up against right now. Like the hiring manager desires of their ideal candidate versus their budget versus what they like. This is not uncommon. Hey, I want 5 years of experience with ChatGPT. Has ChatGPT been out 5 years? Like, come on.
So actually to that, and I think that maybe, we've gone off the rails, and I think it's a wonderful thing because
We
we're
are
talking
off the
about
rails.
unlocked experience. That is that, the new hot thing is that everybody wants experience with LLMs. Jason Singer, shout out to you. We see your question. We're going to get to your question in just a second, right?
I can't keep going.
It's all good. I see it. I'm gonna call it out in a second to you, Heather and Christina. We're gonna see how you feel about it.
Oh, I see it.
But what I would ask is, what skills are transferable that indicate that a person has this ability, right? As we enter into this world of skills-based hiring, if they have the skill to work on Excel, do they have the experience to do account-based revenue research, right? Do they have that, right? Let's jump into Jason Singer's question. Yeah.
Jason Singer, thank you for attending. Thank you for engaging. Love the question. Let's see. So Brian, you want to pick this up to start, and me and Heather will go rogue on the end?
Hey man, let's fire it up. So Jason Singer wants to know, what tactics do you use to educate hiring managers, HR and finance, on this conversation of years of experience? How do you move them into action? Jason, I think there are a few different ways to show people's years of experience and what they're doing with their skill set. I know that we're supposed to be talking about LinkedIn Unlocked and how to unlock secrets on LinkedIn.
We're
I
getting
would point to something that Christina does a great job with and Heather does a great job with, and that's collaborative articles. Is that I would look to the information that an individual can concisely deliver in less than 750 characters, and how they can explain a complex idea in simple relative terms for any audience to understand, right? So I think that's important. The other question is Jason, what's the difference between 60 months, which is 5 years of experience, and 48 months? What's the difference? 1 year, 12 months, right? Can you tell me what makes that person that much different, right? And then when we talk about finance, as recruiters, it's also our ambition to educate about what's taking place in the market. You know, I love tools like Gartner's Talent Neuron. Shout out to Talent Neuron if you're listening. But their
we're
data,
talking assessments.
no, like I'm talking about financials and what have you. There's a lag on that it lags about 6, and Mercer data as well lags about 3 to 6 months in terms of what the market is producing. So if I'm finding candidates that are all making $150,000 and we're looking at 120, I need to be able to show these are what those profiles look like. This is what their skill set looks like. Do we increase or decrease experience so that we bring the budget in line? And I think that's how we have that conversation.
I have a quick roll off on road.
Go for it, girl.
Yeah. So, you know, I think that oftentimes when us recruiters work with new hiring managers or hiring managers that have been challenging, I know we've all had a challenging hiring manager, right? I have found that challenging somebody, especially in power with decision-making abilities, they're oftentimes not used to that, especially from a little old recruiter. And I have been able to use data, market research, and just sheer, like, I don't want to say cutthroat, but like, these are the facts here. And, you know, if this is exactly what you're looking for, profile, you want 5 to 7 years experience in this, you want to be able to say that they have, you know, SaaS experience, B2B, blah, blah. That's great. But, you know, you throw in some key traits of like, oh, they have to speak French, but they have to live in this country. And like, there are so many obstacles that have been thrown my way. And the one thing that I have found is that challenging leaders literally builds trust. Like, they may not like it in that first initial second, but they respect you afterwards. And then that is my answer to how to move them into action, is to specifically lay out. And you don't, I'm not saying challenge every leader, but if you know that you have the groundwork to challenge, shoot your shot, challenge it. It's never backfired on me. Like, never. And I do it all the time.
So Heather, to you, how do you collaborate with hiring managers when you face these kind of roadblocks?
Yeah, so I always go into the conversation to uncover their vision. And so, like, what's the vision for this role? Like, what, and really just what comes down to, and I say this quite often, is the problem that they're having, right? That's what they need. Why is the position open? And what's the problem that you're having right now? And what does the roadmap look like for someone who would have developed the skill in order to solve that particular problem? So sometimes the team members on the team will have that roadmap maybe on their LinkedIn because it's filled out. So then I can kind of see the roadmap of what someone would look like that would grow into that particular role and to solve those problems. But that's really what I'm trying to uncover. It's just really what's the roadmap to success here? What's the problem that you're trying to solve? And then I just take whatever that problem is. I generate very niche questions. So when I'm talking to candidates, I can verify that in their current or existing environments, they've solved those particular problems. And then I know when they go into the conversation with the hiring manager, they're going to be able to provide some solutions to what they're already interested in hearing. And so that's kind of what I do. I don't necessarily have to educate them, but sometimes if maybe the compensation is widely out of range of what what I mean widely out of range is under range. That may be a conversation that has to be had. But I still will take into consideration if they think this talent is out there within their parameters, I'll give it a go. And then I'll come back and give them what I found. And then we'll make adjustments. And so I think having that approach, like I'll hear you out, I'll give it a try, and then we'll make adjustments, is really what drives things to the destination. So
yeah,
I want to, Christina, I want to further unpack this. Like you talk about, go for it. What do you want? You
no, I have Wade. Don't think that I'm skipping you. I'm not. We're getting to you. But this came in after, and yeah, I also LinkedIn user. Can you like uncover yourself? I would love to know who you are because I
no. Let them have their anonymity. It's all good.
But I find thrill in it too. In the moment, one of my greatest one of the relationships I've built that I'm most proud of is with a VP of sales out in Prague. Her name is Katerina. She's enjoying her maternity leave right now with her beautiful baby girl, but she taught me how, like, this was the kind of leader that you don't cross, okay? Because she is on her way up to the top. She's growing, and she is very she's a badass. And I built such a good relationship with her because I challenged her in a way that LinkedIn anonymous LinkedIn user was so thrilling. In the moment, was I crapping my pants thinking this could go sideways? Absolutely. Absolutely. I thought, oh no, this is probably not going to go well, but there was a burning in my soul. Shira, the princess of power. I know one Shira.
Yeah, I know.
It is.
Yeah, it's got to be who we think it is. Shira, welcome to the big show.
Yeah, welcome to the big show. Happy to see you here.
Yeah, so real quick, the question I wanted to ask to Heather, and Christina, feel free to jump in on this, is that you talk about the problem that you're trying to solve, right? That's not a business development question. That's a bridge building question. What do you do if they don't know why they want to hire this person? Like what their problem is?
Well, then, I mean, that's a whole different thing to uncover, because why even request for budget? What's the need for the position? They're going to potentially not even hire, right? So when they're engaging, so myself being an agency recruiter, it's a little bit different because there's more, there's a potential fee involved. And when, and so by the time they come to us, they've identified this is a need and they need it filled right away. But I would imagine in a corporate setting, if they're coming in and this is, they don't have an answer for that, then what do you need the additional headcount for? Because what I don't want to do is go find this person. We put in this time and this effort, and then you find out we don't even need to move forward. And so because we don't have an actual need. So that would probably create where they would I would imagine either hold off on even filling the role until they figure that out. But maybe that's even a way to challenge it. Like, look, I don't mind to take this on
right now,
but let's hold off until we figure out why you even need this person. Why don't you see how your team does for the next couple of weeks? And then if you come back and you still need this person, I'll engage my team on it. But until then, we need to really know that this is something that you want to move forward with.
And I'm going to roll that into, not to cut you off, but, and Wade, I'm coming back to you, but why don't we just put it up here? Because, no, we don't make Wade wait. So, but in that, I would say that before we touch on this, oftentimes hiring managers have open roles that they don't have any interest in filling.
I don't think that's true. I think that a hiring manager has an interest in filling the role, but I go to the part that Heather makes about what's the business case, right? Like business case, I had headcount, or is the business case our DevOps keeps breaking? We need somebody who really knows Kubernetes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't mean it like that, but I mean, sometimes, the leadership, management, candidate experience. Leadership and management need to be on the same page. I know we've all dealt with a lot of, we'll get back to candidate experience, but what I'm saying is these are crucial steps in the process of gaining, your industry top talent. And let's not give people bad experiences. Let's give them the best experience they can have, so that whether or not they get the job, you're creating an advocate in lieu of a new hire. But Brian, take Wade, because I talk to Wade almost a few times a week. So I would like you two to kind of connect, because I can riff with Wade all the time.
So real quick, I think that as we're reading this comment here, that Wade is saying that he hires people for what they can do, not for what they've done, right? So
Exactly.
there's this idea of performance-based hiring, right? I'm not throwing shade on Lou Adler, but the idea is that past performance predicts future behavior. I got to tell
how
you,
things used to go in the past.
well, so I agree with Wade here, is that if I want a person who's hungry, ambitious, scrappy, who likes to punch above their weight class, right?
Mhm.
If you're not, if you're doing what you've always done, then you're going to create the same errors that you've always created, right? And I think that's what Wade, I hope that's what Wade is saying here, because that's one of the things that I interpret them, is that I don't care if you're hiring a software engineer or an accountant, you're looking for somebody who has that ability to punch above their weight class and deliver for the business.
100%. And I think that, I don't know if it's just me. I'm actively in the job market. For everyone who doesn't know, I kind of announced it earlier this week, but I have been told more times than not that I have a non-traditional background. How do we feel about that?
I guess
No
that you would
shade
have to.
here, I'm just saying.
I would ask them what is, define that. What is non-traditional? Because
Are we in
So,
traditional times?
so I was going to say that, as I was going to say, I guess your traditional background is not somebody who put themselves through school. I guess a non-traditional background is not somebody who, this is like the layoff question, right? Like, why were you laid off? Excuse me, I'm not the CEO or the CFO of the company. I wasn't running the books. I was laid off because they didn't know how to manage their numbers, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah. Well, yeah, I definitely, Christina, I would go back. Anyone that makes a statement or comment like that, whether it's positive or negative, I always like to ask, like, why do you feel that way about me? Or what are your thoughts around that? Just because I don't want to take the interpretation of how I would perceive it when they could be seeing it completely different. But I do want to say, like, Wade, I don't think you and I have connected. I can't really tell if we're even first connections on here. Definitely connect with me, because I'm curious to uncover like your thinking on that. It instantly made me think about, because here's the thing, like I coach, right now I'm on pause, but I usually coach baseball, softball around, I have a focus on mental health and neuroperformance in youth kids. And so, but with the sports mindset, and when you're building, let's say, a team, you do kind of focus on what someone has done, because that's potentially what they still can do. And it's like, are you still, can I still grow you? And like, are there still areas for improvement? Like, those are the things you're looking for, is like, okay, this is what you've done and where you're currently at. How can I develop you from here? And like, how can I mold you into what I need for my team? And so the interesting part to what you said made me think of a recent interview by Michael Jordan, where he was talking about what he doesn't understand is that the new players coming into the league, they get this huge payout up front, and nobody even knows if they can perform. Where in his generation, they didn't get that till they showed what they could actually do. And so, so there is an importance to kind of seeing what you have done, right? Because then they got their payout later, back, the older generation, versus what, and so that's where it's like, I can see ambition and passion early on in careers. And then if you're hiring someone, let's say, who is in a senior lead level role, and you're going to grow them into a manager, a director, a VP, you're going to still want to find that passion and excitement and energy. So of course, it's about what you can do. But that all varies based on the role. There are roles where people are coming in just to do maintenance, and they don't need that. But if you're hiring because you need someone with ambition and drive, then those are valuable things to look for. So we definitely need to connect, because I'm curious to dive more into your mindset on that.
Yeah, and Heather, I can give you a little bit of a warm intro, Brian too as well. Random. So Wade and I have been connected for many years. I actually, man, it might have been 6 years ago, give or take. I was determined to work for LinkedIn. And like when I say, people refer to me as like Christina the Connect, like I shoot my shot with every connection. Wade was a VP of Talent Solutions at LinkedIn for, I want to say, almost 10 years. And I'm sure he had some sort of like investment in that as well. But Wade is a great connection to have. He got me secured with, an interview with LinkedIn, which to this day, even though they've rejected me, I would try again. Like, and that's a testament to LinkedIn, and I know a lot of people like to call it like the Blue Devil and things like that, but like LinkedIn is like my Taylor Swift. Like it's a good
Dude, I don't know why people call it the Blue Devil, right? Like it is a huge piece of business infrastructure, right? The devil is something you can live without. The Blue Devil, it doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. I think it's disingenuous, because the same people who talk about things being the Blue Devil, they're the same people who use it religiously.
Thank you, Wade. I am crazy enough to be successful. Yeah, hopefully. Shira's point is very important. I'm speaking a certain sector and mindset. I agree. I think, did I miss this one? Brian, just want to just show you ditched resumes in 2018.
Okay, so real quick, here's the thing: ditch the specific degree requirement. Wade, I don't know enough about that ditching, if it was because they didn't want to be held back by the paper ceiling, or if they look at degrees as being systemically racist, right? And I realize that's like a whole nother conversation for another time. But like,
not everybody has the privilege.
Exactly, right? This is you have individuals that are right now accumulating record debt to be their first person in their family to go to college, and they're unfortunately, like, they're stacking the deck even further against themselves, because we've created this industrial education complex, right? Like, I just got done this year paying my student loans, right?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. We'll get it. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah,
whole nother
no,
time, right? Yeah. But just like we, there's a lot of literature around the fact that degrees and requiring degrees really does a disservice to your diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging efforts. And
100%.
when I think of Google, about a company that has been on the forefront of DEIB, I wonder, and I don't remember Laszlo Bach talking about this specifically. I'd love to kind of tap into that.
Yeah. So Wade went back to Shira's point, and this is a good point. I know we've gone a little rogue, and I will get back to unlocking LinkedIn.
No, we're unlocking LinkedIn right now. We're getting crazy.
We are. I know we are, but I want to give the people some tips and tricks. And I know there is no tips and tricks right now. Like, if I had a tip or a trick to get somebody hired, I'd give it to you right now. There isn't one. So with that, I'm going back to Shira's comment about, so this is very, very important, is that, not all hiring managers are moving the same way. Like we said, we went from performance based to now it's skill. Like, I don't know if this is reeling back into LinkedIn. Code Red, we are on a skills based hiring ramp. Like, that's what's going on. So, with that being said, making sure that everybody in your hiring process is aligned in what they're looking for, and that there's no like last minute hurdles is kind of something I would say. Oh, did we lose audio?
No, hold on. I'm gonna text Jason Singer to make sure we didn't.
Okay. And
I'm on it.
so do you guys mind if I go back to LinkedIn and give a few tips?
No, that's not. I
Yeah,
mean,
There's the
that's
ADHD in me,
but
but we might
do it.
Christina, before you do that, can you define what skills-based hiring is? Because I want to make sure that the audience understands that this really is a seismic shift as we step away from the
Huge.
traditional resume.
Yeah. So, okay, so Shira says they can hear us. Okay, so the shift from skills-based, so I've been, as we've grown LinkedIn Unlocked and every month we get a little bit better, I have been just absorbing every single thing I can about LinkedIn. Every time I go on, I'm like, oh, this is a little bit different. Huh, there's been a lot of changes and I'm not the only one noticing it. A lot of people are noticing it. So if you go to a LinkedIn profile, which I know within the past week, there's been some weird changes where some of the stuff isn't pulling, but the 5 skills that you can hashtag underneath your name, your tagline. I've said this before. Make sure, though, if you're in the job market looking for a new job, make sure that your skills that are, so mine, for instance, are hashtag relationship building, hashtag recruiting, hashtag TA, hashtag fostering inclusion, and I have one more.
So actually, this connects, if you will, and I want to get Heather's take on this. I think this reconnects, your definition reconnects with what Wade was saying, is that show me what you can do now, not just what you know.
Exactly. And that is where we're shifting, because, and I think that this is a very necessary shift. I Heather, correct me if you have a different opinion. Like I welcome that, but I think, right, in my opinion, I think hiring for skills is kind of in line with Steve Jobs, like hire people and then let them go. Trust that they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the level of hire, right? And so, I want to throw that out there, that the level of hire determines, how honed into the skills that you are. So when I first got into recruiting, I knew nothing about recruiting, right? So they had to take a chance on me and just kind of went off my energy and hope
And it worked for them, right? I'm sure they made a bunch of money.
It did. So, it well, not only worked for them, it worked for me too, right? I actually was in an environment that was a little bit unorganized. And so it required me to wear many hats and think outside the box. That, it's not for everyone, but for me, I love having no ceiling for creativity. So that was a great environment for me. But to just kind of, I'm having like a squirrel moment where I
go with it.
Oh, good.
LinkedIn Unlocked allows all types of squirrel moments. You got another train you want to catch, get on it.
Yeah, there was something you said though, and I had like I was thinking of a point, and now you'll have to get back, and then I'll grab it
back there. Don't worry, I will relight the candle.
Yeah.
So Shira came through with, and this is I feel like I can. Brian, you want to take this?
Oh,
one?
dude, I'm ready to go for this. All right,
so this is for you. Go ahead.
All right, so real quick about numbers. Numbers kind of give this sexy allure of undeniable success, right? They transform your resume from this like nebulous narrative into a quantifiable testament about your impact, right? Is that it helps you cut through the bullshit in the sea of sameness, right? Is that fundamentally hiring managers want to see that because they want to cut through the fluff and they want you to get straight to the point. They want to know what you've achieved, how much did you improve sales, efficiency, customer satisfaction. Those numbers offer a concrete measure of your contribution, your potential. Think of it as a scoreboard. Think of it as you saying, hey, I'm the Jordan, I'm the GOAT. It translates past wins into future promises. That's where I've got with it.
Yeah, I agree with that. But
that was on point.
I'm gonna, not to use the D word, but devil's advocate here.
You can use the word devil's advocate.
You know what? I will, because I think, I have a different stance on that. Let's say 75% of the roles that I've filled, I never touched before. Recruiting is foundationally sales. And
100. You and I completely agree
yeah,
on that. We don't think it should be aligned to the HR
sales
function.
is everything. Everything is sales. Recruiting, I feel like, is an even more complex sale, because you're not
It's a
selling a product.
double-sided deal.
Exactly. And you're not just selling one person. 9 times out of 10, that person has a dog, a partner, a children, every there are many aspects of and I don't want to say convincing, because I don't convince anybody to take a role that I don't think is good for them. And I truthfully do believe that if I'm given a role that I wouldn't necessarily take myself, or think that it's at the level for that role in comparison to the market, I don't want to work it. Sorry, I don't want to convince anybody to take a bad deal. And, maybe that is in part.
Dude, look, here's the thing is I think that when you read a resume, even though, or a resume, a LinkedIn profile, GitHub profile, a note that they posted on Rev Genius, if you're looking for salespeople, what matters to that person as it relates to the business, right? They're showing you that they're not just task oriented, but they're impact oriented. So to that whole, like, I don't want to work the role agency, I don't love the role, I don't want to sell somebody a thing where they're the cog in the wheel in somebody else's game.
A hot brown bag of garbage.
Exact hot flaming garbage, flaming on fire, boom, right?
I don't want to do that.
Well, I've had a situation where, I mean, you're identifying the alignment of what their career goals are, or why are they even interested in seeking new? What are they not getting in their current environment that they would take on something different? Or if they're not employed right now, what about their past environments didn't align best with them, and trying to make sure that you fit them into an opportunity that's really going to excite them to show up. And so I've had the conversation with talent before where I say, look, based on what you've shared with me about, your career trajectory, what you're trying to do, I have no doubt that if I submit you right now, you'll get interviewed and potentially hired, but I'm not quite sure you'll really feel fulfilled in this role. I'll still move forward if you want to move forward. I'm not going to remove you from the process, but I do want to say that if you do take this, I want to set that up front, that so they know for sure what they're saying yes to. They know what that package deal is, and I didn't sell them a deal of goods that didn't exist. So,
Heather, real quick, have you ever read the book The Alliance by Reid Hoffman?
I have not, but now
okay, all right.
Why don't you plug your book while you're here?
Okay, so I got a book. It's called Talk Tech to Me. It is closing in on selling 5,000 copies. It's incredible.
5,000 copies.
Yeah, so it's doing good things. But about the book, The Alliance, it changed fundamentally the question that it doesn't have this question in the book, but it changed the first question that I ask a candidate on the call. In the book, they talk about this idea of tours of duty. Will it take you 18 to 36 months, one tour of duty or two tours of duty, to reach your goal, to reach your vision as Mr. Candidate, as Mrs. Employee, right? So when I have a candid call with a candidate, and the first question I ask them after, hey, are you ready to have a great conversation? Sure, I'm ready to have a great conversation. I say, great. I've read your resume and I think I understand what you've done. I might have some questions about that later. But right now, big question I got is, where do you want to take your career? What do you want to do next? Because if they don't know what they want to do next, I can't get them to where they want to be in that tour of duty. If that next doesn't align with the trajectory of the role, then Heather, I can do exactly what you did and say, hey, dude, I can get you the job, but you're not going to be fulfilled.
How many of you guys are actually saying that right now in this current market? That's my question.
As in from the recruiter engagement or the candidate response? Like
both sides. Like I right now I'm harping the candidate experience train, but like from the recruiter perspective too, like I have this belief that, hey, from a non-traditional approach, my perspective is that it's no secret that candidate experience is down, and it's down a lot. And I think that is partially because the recruiters that are still employed, they're burnt out. They're watching their friends, their colleagues get laid off. They have survivor's guilt. I've gone through it all myself recently. And, you're hanging on by a thread every day, waiting for that inevitable call, that inevitable, hey, you got time to chat from HR. And it's a recipe for disaster, because the candidates that you're putting through your pipeline, any employer, if you're not giving them a stellar experience from the beginning to the end, you're putting your business at risk. Because I have shared a few stories since I've been in the job market of things that have gone wrong and things that, I didn't expect to experience. But there are candidates out there that will blast your employer brand. And that's the reality of it. So, I think that right now, like if you're an employer or if you're a recruiter, just kind of think about that for a second, that like every move you make is under a microscope. There are people recording their interviews nowadays, which
the TikTok interviews, like there was an article in Business Insider about this morning about people being afraid to interview people and people being afraid to fire people.
What did we expect? Really, what did we expect? Like I think back to August 2022 when employers were asking me and others on my team about like, oh, this interviewing software where we can record and transcript everything you say. And if you're a recruiter like me, I'm like non-traditional. I don't really like the idea of being recorded the whole time. Well, it's coming full circle, because you don't like the idea of being recorded. Well, every time you jump on a call, whether it's a phone call or a Zoom interview,
there's the potential. There's the potential.
Person, they can record you.
Yeah.
So real quick, I think that there wouldn't be a problem with being recorded if there was some kind of standard, and maybe SHRM wants to publish this, maybe LinkedIn wants to publish this, about how an interview should work, right? We have people
at each stage.
And I got on my soapbox about systemic racism a minute ago, right? Let's talk about asking a question that is anti-neurodiverse at the start of the interview. Okay.
Let's go.
Okay. How are you doing today?
I hate that.
Can you tell me about yourself?
Tell me your story.
You've got the friggin' resume, right? So we don't have this train, and there's an increasing amount of the population that is neurodiverse, and we are isolating them. We're isolating them from an interview process because we have untrained recruiters.
Well,
100%.
And it's interesting because I'm thinking back to my conversations when I'm on the call with candidates and I'm explaining to them, I give highlighted, into what the role is, what attracted me to their profile, why, and that's why we're in the conversation. And then when I do pass it over and say, now walk me through a little bit about yourself, and then I give examples of what I'm interested in, what you did at this company and that company, and how it relates to this role based on what I sent you. And just kind of what the resume doesn't say. And then I was like, and then I'll say, and I say all this, and then I say, I'll change my questions from here. And it's never been it flows well. I uncover things that the resume often does not, say. I get to really dive into the weeds. So I think to your point, if recruiters aren't given the roadmap of how to ask curious questions and uncover things, then they're just asking the front layer. Tell me about yourself. And they're not diving into what about that aligns with this role, right?
Let me give you a killer, deadly question that every recruiter should be asking every candidate to ensure that the candidate is heard and seen. You know, Heather, we've talked about a lot of things today. Is there any question that I didn't ask you about your experience that you wish I had asked you? What is that?
Ooh,
Right?
piping hot. Ooh.
Yeah, because here's the thing is that, like, if people are recording their interviews and posting them to TikTok, it's because they want to be seen and they want to be heard. If you give them the opportunity to be seen and heard, maybe that's a difference. Maybe it's a stopgap. Maybe that's a fire truck to prevent that from happening, right?
100%. I think 2024 employers, they have the employers that have had recent layoffs. They are from my conversations recently. They're now moving into a what do we do to retain the employees we have? Because and I know we had mentioned to talk about this, but 95% of employees are cited to be looking to make a move this year. You want to know why? Because they've gone through ridiculous times in their current employers.
Yeah. So
And
I'd love to kind of pivot from that and answer this question because I think
yeah,
this is important. LinkedIn user, I understand where you're at. I've got a lot of people who ask me this question about how can they pivot without going into debt. I really like certain websites, and since I can't put them in the comments, I'll speak slowly. There is a company that's called HubSpot, HUBSPOT. They sell a software that is for CRM. They compete against Salesforce, right?
yeah,
And they have courses that you can take to get certified not only in their software but in skills like search engine like, so if you're a marketer and you want to go into marketing, they have all these courses with all these certifications that are backed up by Credly that you can go and you can take these for free. Okay.
LinkedIn Learning is how much right now? Do we know?
I don't know how much LinkedIn Learning is, but LinkedIn Learning is a great way to take courses as well. And talking about LinkedIn, there's a little website that is huge that we probably should have gotten into at the top of the hour. There's a website that's called learn.microsoft.com. Okay.
Yes.
And what it does is it offers you free training and the cliff notes on all their software. So if you think that there's been a change that's made in the LinkedIn algorithm, go there. It'll talk about it. It'll tell you that there was a change that was made on 12/21 of 23 about the different search commands that you can use, right? So there are those resources that you can go and educate yourself. I talked about Salesforce. Salesforce, if you want to be a Salesforce admin, they have certifications in Trailhead that you can use that. Run it. You're absolutely right.
Yes.
LinkedIn Learning is
Brian
available.
and I earlier this month, there was so there are some LinkedIn like topic pages you can follow, and we uncovered one that had like 5 different courses that were free. And Brian, I remember you took one of the courses and then shared it to your LinkedIn community of 40K plus as like, hey, I've just unlocked this free course for you.
So they have 24 to 48 hours to take a course that's found on somebody's page. If you want to find multiple people who've posted, go in and put the word LinkedIn Learning in one word in the search bar in LinkedIn, whether you have free LinkedIn or paid LinkedIn, and it'll bring you back the results of everybody who's posted about that in the past 24 hours so that you can go through and you can hack your way to LinkedIn Learning. There are also some great what's a library? Wade, I understand. If you look around my office, you would wonder if I live in a library, right?
I love a library.
Yeah. So you love going to Starbucks and Barnes and Noble. That ain't a library, girl.
I like the Shelby Township Library too. Okay, I do.
Okay. All right. I'm giving you some shit.
Even my small town has a library, so
I love my local library.
Yeah. Well, so I wanted to bring up something. And so a bit of advice around the previous question. So if you've been on the search for 9 months, you're trying to figure out like how can I, what can I do to, kind of break the mold here and really get into a different industry. Think about if you've been able to interview, think about the questions that were asked and then take that knowledge and go build those skills. Reach out to people who are currently in that role and see if they're willing to have a conversation with you to understand what it is that they do and let them know that you're trying to pivot and you just want to learn a little bit from them. Not, you may not get a response from everyone, but you could get one or two or three, and that's really going to change how you show up and what you look for and how you learn. That's what I do. I still reach out to people and I'm like, just kind of what skills have been, or even when someone's hiring, hey, look, I'm not looking right now, but would love to understand what it is that you're looking for in someone's values for that role, because that's what I'm trying to grow into. And then I go build those skills. I go educate myself. So highly encourage, if you've been in those interviews, anyone in the audience, if you've been in an interview, one or two, think about the questions that were asked. Those are the skills to go and build and grow yourself in for your industry.
And with that being said, I mean, you can jump onto the LinkedIn library and even now, like if you speaking of updates on LinkedIn, if you go look at a job, before it never had like prepare for this interview. Here are some. So there's so much we haven't unlocked, but we will. So just being aware of the like little, I know you guys have seen, like if you go look at any job posting, right in the middle between where it's like the posting and where it says sometimes where the hiring manager is that you can contact, there'll be like these little like stars with AI.
Top skills, yeah.
Yep, and with AI, like tell me, and it'll LinkedIn is definitely advancing very quickly. Do I think that there's going to be some hiccups with it? Absolutely. And Brian, I know you put this up. Wade, can you give me a yes in the comments if you'd be open to an informal chat with Brian and Heather and I just to riff? Because I mean, I am it's always a pleasure to speak to you, but I would like to connect you with Heather and Brian, because I think that we are all kind of like-minded and also have diversity in perspective. So if you could comment.
It's interesting, his comment here, because I just was listening to a podcast the other day that was talking about live your life as if you are a camera's on you 24/7. And so that's how I show up. If I was being recorded 24/7, I live my life. So it's just interesting that he even brought that up, because I was like, I just listening to a podcast on that. So.
Yeah, I think that, based on what Wade has said, like, yeah, I say live your life as if today's your last day, just because you never know if tomorrow is guaranteed. But and I've never given a candidate any, and if there is a candidate out there that has had a bad experience with me, apologies. But I really don't think that there is one, because I show up for candidates the way I wish hiring managers would show up for me.
So with that, there's always going to be one, because we're not perfect, right? Like there's that story about the Amish that, like, if they make a perfect quilt, they will go back and put a small drop stitch in it, because the only perfection is God, right? Mm-hmm. So not to get super religious on us today, but what I would say is there is going to be an instance where we face some criticism in our lives about the experience we've given to a candidate. And I know, speaking to Heather and listening to Wade and having a conversation with Christina, that criticism is the fuel to our fire to make us better. And I would encourage anybody today to lean into criticism and make it your advantage.
Thank you, Wade, for showing up. Just kidding on the money. I will get in touch with you. We'll book something, because I think that, you have so much insights. Thank you so much for being here. Wade actually just finished like a 90-something mile, like
ultra. He did an ultra. Yeah.
Yeah, which is as a like Olympic style walker, as Brian says. Like I could never see that for myself, but Great for you, Wade. We love it. And I'll connect with you and see if we can get you scheduled. But
How much do these free courses carry weight on a resume? They actually carry a fair amount of weight,
tons.
especially if they're tied to an organization like a HubSpot or an AWS or a Salesforce. Less carries through with some of the Google Learning courses. The advantage of taking a Google Learning course is if you finish in the top 5%, you're guaranteed an interview with Google.
What?
Learn. Hold on, let me make sure I've got the right website. Give me 1 second, I'll pull it up.
And I know I say every month that we're gonna send a summary out. I didn't last month, but I will this month, because we have a ton of stuff that I want to get to you guys.
Growwithgoogle.com is the website that takes you to Google's preferred courses that they want you to take on either Udemy or I think it's on Udemy or Coursera.
Yep.
Some of them are free, some of them you have to pay for. If you're just turning in, my favorite phrase, if it's free, it's for me. My favorite 4-letter word begins with an F, and no, get your head out of the gutter.
$3.99.
Free 99, free 99 all day
is
long.
my favorite line to say.
Yeah.
Now I know we're a little bit over and we haven't really addressed Q&As. Number one, Heather, do you have to jump at all? You're good for a few more minutes?
I can do a couple more, but yes, I will have to jump.
Okay. Does anybody have any specific questions for Heather? I know that we standard LinkedIn Unlocked. We go all over the place, and that's just the way it is.
It's a good thing. We have great guests, and that we let them drive the car. That's all there is to it.
Okay, so maybe Heather, do you want to take this one? Recommendations on what to tell a recruiter or employer why you want to leave what you are doing when you are an entrepreneur looking to pivot into a full-time opportunity in your field.
I mean, that's
me.
an answer. That's your. I mean, if you're giving that response and you feel like it's coming off negative, then it's just not the right environment for you. They're already going to cross you off because you're an entrepreneur looking to pivot, right? And so that's already not in alignment with what they're looking for to fill that role. And so that's the way I see it. I mean, they're going to see that on your, so when you say entrepreneur, and the only thing I can think of is maybe you've owned a business or you've done consulting. So you've been working alongside people versus in a corporate structure. If that doesn't all align with what they're interested in and moving forward with, then it doesn't really matter what response you're going to give. They're just not going to move forward. And so the only thing I could think of is that sometimes recruiters may not, like, you may have your business on there and they don't look and see. I look at the business, how many employees, what the business specializes in. Like, I check those things out before we have a conversation. So I know what environment you're coming from and any maybe hurdles you might have going into the role that I'm hiring for, if that would even interest you. So an example being someone who is, let's say, a developer in finance. If I'm hiring for a developer in marketing, they may not be interested in marketing. They may not be something that they want to go into. I've had people reject development for accounting departments. And so just things like that. So that's my take on it. I know that was a lot, but if anybody else wants to.
No, it's
perfect. So Heather, I want to double click on that. Is if you're having an interview with a hiring manager or a recruiter, you're already 75% of the way there.
Exactly. They don't want to waste their time.
They want to hire you. Okay. So let's flex that entrepreneurial muscle. Maybe you've been a solo entrepreneur, and as a solo entrepreneur, you can go slow if you go solo, or you can go fast if you go with other people. And you can
fast. Are you fast?
Are you fast, right?
Are you fast,
right? You know, what do you want to build with other individuals? If you're somebody that you've had a successful business or a less than successful business, what you can do is you can say, I've had those personal lessons and I'm ready to apply them to another role, another opportunity where I can help affect change in other individuals. There are a lot of different ways that you can spin this.
I have my favorite line, and it's the truth. So, I was solo recruiting, headhunting for over 4 years before the pandemic hit. I had years of experience working in agency, and my billings went down during COVID as much as I didn't want to go back to work. My main thing, and I could have stuck it out and grinded harder and got my billings back up. You know what? My honest, and I mean this wholeheartedly, I always mean what I say, but this line is not a line that I use to like impress anyone. It was the absolute truth, is that I missed the camaraderie of being on a team, of working with others. Being an entrepreneur is hard.
Lonely town, lonely town.
And you're on this wheel trying to grow, right? But community is everything to me. Like when I have challenges, yes, I can go straight into responding, into tackling it, but why would I do that when I can pause, go to my network, my connections, my close advisors, mentors, whatever you want to call them, get their feedback, get their perspectives, and be able to come forward with a more diverse.
Well, and the other piece too is like, I don't know this person's situation, but entrepreneurship comes with wearing all the hats, right? Like you have to do in areas that you're not even an expert in, you have to pick it up until you either can hire someone to take it on in order to grow your business. So when you say individual contributor, I imagine you're trying to go into a role about something that excites you to show up, what you actually are an expert at, versus from the entrepreneur mindset, you're going to be doing things outside of your natural area of expertise. And so that's a way to approach it too, is to say, look, let's say I went on to did my own consulting as a recruiter. So I'd have to navigate accounting, business development, account management, right? But maybe I'm not passionate about account management, business development. I love recruiting. So I want to get back into being an individual recruiter, contributor as a recruiter versus having to navigate the business development, the account management, those type of things. So if that's your situation, that's another way to show up, to say, I just really want to come in and do what I'm really good at. And that's what I do every day, versus navigating all these other hats that aren't even relevant to the actual skill that I'm mastering.
And LinkedIn user, if we didn't specifically get to what, feel free to DM me, Brian or Heather, anything like that maybe you didn't want to say here, or I know we all try to keep our without saying too much, we want our answers, right?
We want our answers. We want to give you your answers.
Yeah. So DM us. I'm sure that there's a little bit that, with more context, we can really help advise, suggest, give you some recommendations, some experience of how it has worked for us. But, I don't want you to leave thinking your question wasn't answered. So come to us, DMs. If you're not following Heather on LinkedIn, go follow her right now. Brian,
Same place. I gotta jump. I'm getting blown up.
Yes. So everybody, thank you so much for joining. Honestly, Heather, I feel like we could have gone a lot longer. Might
Heather,
want to grab you.
Will you come back? Would you do this again?
Absolutely. I love hanging out with you.
Maybe like a later surprise episode. Yeah. Brian, go ahead. Thank you so much for coming. And yes, connect with Heather, connect with Brian, connect with me. I will send recordings out. If you haven't already, go now, LinkedIn Unlocked.live. If you subscribe, you will come directly to me and I will give you all the dish, all the tea.
All the tea. We're going to spill the tea.
It's going to be piping hot. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending, and see you next month.
Are you listening? Whoa.
I think we